All right, everyone. I hope. Oh, okay. So I hope everyone's having a good time, a good day today. This will be the last time I am going to record this video. Oh, this recording. I was going to make this into a video, but ultimately decided against it. I do still have my dry erase board and my marker, so you might hear me scribble a little bit to help process my thoughts and make notes. Okay. Basically, the main thing I want to talk about is the difference between the heart space and the mind space. The heart space being 3D and the mind space being the mind or third realm or the matrix, basically. The matrix is basically a psychological world that we live in. It is much like a what do you call it? Collective consciousness type of thing. Simply because you can take a bunch of people or a few people or whatever, and you can put them all in a room. Don't make them say anything to each other, but just put them all in that room and just observe what is actually happening, what each actual person is doing. Now, we know that each of these people, or even ourselves, have stress in our lives, or we have other lives, other things that we can be doing, other things that we're doing. Now, if you actually separate each of the people from the room and you follow them throughout their daily life without actually communicating with them or saying anything at all, you'll realize that these people are just going about their day, doing things, going places, literally just going places and moving. Everything that makes the person, everything that they are experiencing, whether it is good, whether it is bad, is basically not physical. You don't actually see it. That's the thing a lot of people kind of don't realize, or they don't see. They don't really think about. Everything that a person goes through is internal, is internalized. Now, even with that being said, whether a person's experience is can be in the heart space or can be in the mind space. Now, the mind space is, like I said, the matrix, and it is a psychological realm. Each of us as individuals kind of experience our own psychological realm, but also, for the most part, we share it with other people. A lot of people talk about how bad society is, what is frowned upon, what is not seen as good, what is not seen as right. You know what I find interesting about, which I know my opinions shouldn't be, but anyway, basically, in the mind space, it is shared with other minds, and a lot of people don't believe in that. A lot of people don't see that, but the truth is, it is, because how many times, like, actually think about it. A lot of us say society doesn't like this, society doesn't like that, society frowns upon this, society frowns upon that. But in your lifetime, in your actual memory bank, actually think about every time you experienced when someone treated you a certain way, when someone actually judged you, when society actually judged you a certain way. Not just having a conversation with someone or having a conversation with like-minded people in a group that was against you. Actual society, like actual, have you, just think about it. How many racist situations have you been in? How many people have actually judged you and said it out loud? How many times have we been judged for what we wear? Now, a lot of us could probably say all the time. It happens all the time. But you yourself actually think about that, like right now, in your memories. when did it actually happen? And you can probably think of some memories and then justify it. Or you can actually say, I don't know, but it happens. I remember the experience. A lot of people don't believe in this thing called genetic DNA. And in genetic DNA, there's a quote I heard, and in the quote that this guy said, some experiences are so big that they change our DNA. Which makes sense. You ever wondered why a lot of us are like our parents? Why certain things happen in our family? Like, if someone shares a bloodline, they have certain levels of luck, or certain levels of bad luck, or certain psychological traits that are passed down. Cells have memory in them. Each cells have memory, store memory. And these cells, they shed and they pass down into the next generations. But these cells can actually be reprogrammed through experiences. And when these cells carry these experiences, they just get passed down into the next child, the next generation. And as the person grows, they grow into the experiences of these cells. When that happens, sometimes we could experience something like someone could judge us one time, or someone can judge us 2 or 3 times. And what will happen is we will completely judge all of society just by those few experiences, simply because from someone treating us a certain way, or someone saying something to us, making us feel a certain way, we psychologically become a vibrational match for certain memories that were locked in our DNA from past generations. So when that happens, we basically take on a dominant experience or mindset from a person or a family member that existed maybe 50 years ago. And because they were harshly judged, or because they experienced something in their society, when something happens one time to us in our current situation, we basically take on the identity of that cell or that person's memory from 50 years ago. Excuse me. All right, so I was trying to keep my brain together. So yeah, I just wanted to explain a little bit about that genetic memory. A lot of people don't believe in it. It's one reason why some people have certain physical talents. You can actually, a lot of people, their minds are programmed through TV and things like that, and trying to, practice in certain things or whatever. But really, if you take a person, right, and you say, hey, try to do this physical thing or try to do this mental thing, some people can actually unlock pieces of their DNA on their own simply by just having the confidence that they can do it. A lot of us have a programming where we don't want to, or we feel uncomfortable about trusting ourselves and not trusting just our intuition. A lot of people will say, I don't want to get too far off, but a lot of people just don't believe in their own intuition. Some people, I don't know, I'll go too far down that rabbit hole. But, how many people struggle with, the whole idea of just reality, of space, of gravity, of animal kingdom, of genetic memory, of God, of just any kind of religion or aliens or things like that? How many people struggle with the idea of that? Some people don't. And, some people... Oh, wow, I completely lost my train of thought. But anyway, some people, they struggle with those ideas. And deep down, we all know. Deep down, we know the truth. Deep down, we have what we need in our intuition. But many people tiptoe around and they say things like, at the end of the day, you never know. It's all speculation. It's all in your mind. It's all how you feel. We don't know how science works. It's just what they think, and it's just what we accept, or things like that. That's just an example of, people not trusting themselves intuitively. Whether or not the statement is true doesn't matter in this context. It's the psychology that enables that kind of mentality that I'm talking about. So a lot of us basically are just like shy about trusting ourselves, and we feel like we can't trust ourselves. We don't know how to trust ourselves. When we were younger and we were children, we would say things like whatever, we would do things or say things or, whatever we felt. We would express ourselves and be happy. And we would end up breaking something, or we would be considered a menace. We would get beat. We would get punished just for expressing ourselves. And psychologically, that tells our minds, it tells our brains, oh, you can't fully be yourself. Otherwise, bad things are going to happen. I don't know how I got on the subject of that, but anyway, of self-trust. But basically, a lot of us struggle with that, with just trusting ourselves. There was probably a reason why I got there. I don't know how I got there, but the main point I was trying to talk to was just the 5-dimensional space, which is the heart and the mind space. And a lot of people are stuck in the mind space. They're stuck in a synthetically created synthetically created world, because they feel like basically everything that makes the human spirit good is being exploited psychologically through things like social media or Facebook or certain video games or whatever, just different things. And a lot of these things called controversies, really, it doesn't matter for the most part. Controversies really do not matter. But the higher ups are going to make it seem like they do. A lot of people's opinions kind of don't matter, but again, certain outlets make it seem like they do. I know that probably sounds bad, but think about if you were living your life. Oh, yeah, because I was talking about genetic memory. So think about if you were living your life, right? And you wanted to play soccer or something. You wanted to be, you wanted to go into soccer and just be really good at that. So you would go play soccer and you would practice. You would just go and do it. Goodness, my brain is all over the place. Oh yeah, you would just go do it. And, it might get hard, it might get rough, but you believe in yourself. As long as you believe in yourself, you can just keep going for it and you can just keep doing it. So that's how I got off the subject. You would just go for it. The thing is, a lot of us are kind of programmed with not trusting ourselves and our own gut or intuition. And what that does, it puts us into a submissive mind state and not a dominant mind state for our own individual growth. So when that happens, when you are dominant in yourself and in your growth, you can actually learn how to unlock your DNA on yourself and reprogram your own DNA yourself and for future generations. It's not quite as difficult as people might think that it is. Mostly it's just a leap of faith. But again, the idea of faith has been programmed in our mind to such a degree to where people are just like, oh, it's, people don't know what faith actually is. Surprisingly, faith is actually evolution, but Anyway, just to not get too complicated into that. Yeah, so trying to keep my thoughts together. Like I said, not no cuts for my recordings, especially not when I've recorded like 8 times. But anyway, okay, so now, yeah, so you're living your life and you want to be a soccer player, then you play soccer and you practice, things get hard, you don't give up and you just go for it and you just do it. Now, let's say you're in the mind space, right? If you are in the mind space of something, everything is kind of hypothetical. Nothing is actually real. Everything is just in a loop within your own mind, and it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't do anything. It's not applied to create anything or to actually make much of a difference within the whole overall shared consciousness between most people. Or it can be, but it can also be negative. For instance, how many people live life constantly in a state of this is right and this is wrong, a constant state of philosophy of, oh, is this controversial? Is murder good or is it bad? And then it gets into the whole, oh, it depends on the situation, or no, it's not, or, what about the people that go to war? They do it, but then there's also serial killers. No, that's the cycle. The heart space is, you could go your whole life and the idea of killing or murder would not be on your mind at all. You can go a whole existence without that ever being a question in your mind. Ever. But then when the situation does actually happen to you, then that's when you have to learn how to deal with it. That is what living in the heart space is about. It is about living your life. And when things come to you, that is when you deal with it. You deal with it in the most productive way possible, but only as it comes your way into your life and threatens your personal space or threatens your personal growth or becomes a trial that you must overcome yourself. And the thing about being dominantly in the mind space is that people are constantly trying to figure out life. They're constantly trying to figure out what is right, what is wrong. They're constantly trying to fight each other on if their religion is good or if their religion is bad or this and that. And it's like, at the end of the day, if you were focused on what you wanted to do with your own life, most of these other issues that other people have to deal with may not affect you at all if you just minded your own business and lived your own life and did what you wanted to do. The whole idea of the Matrix is to keep people in that mindset, into the mind space, where they're constantly trying to figure everything out, trying to figure out if things are good, if they're bad, if they're right or they're wrong. They're constantly creating controversy within our own minds as to, is this right? Is this wrong? No. Okay, how do we fix it? How do we do this and how do we do that? When in the heart space, when things go wrong, then we would know exactly how to handle it. Because we're like, okay, well, this isn't working, so we're just going to do it. But again, that's only when the situation is presented. Especially in America, especially in our country, we have higher ups that feed us bread. Now, when I say bread, or when I say, if we're hungry, like basically, okay, let me just not make things complicated. You have people higher ups in American society, especially, that will feed us bread and tell us this is a feast. That tell us, oh, here's some bread, here's some food. You worked and you've earned it. When every other species on the planet can go out and just eat whenever they want to, because Mother Earth has provided it for us in nature. Mother Earth has provided everything that we need itself. It's just out in nature. So why do we need to work to have things like that? You know, like we could literally go out, find some land, build a house ourselves from scratch. We can build it ourselves from scratch. But then the government will say, hey, no, you got to pay for that property. Even though you found that land, you discovered it, and you built everything yourself. That's the war against both sides, but not to get too far into that. The thing is, there are other influencers keeping us in, like I said, in that cycle of trying to figure things out and working hard, killing ourselves, destroying our bodies. I watched a story today, young girl who became one of the most paid lawyers in the world. And she was a lawyer for rich people, and she was getting paid like $250,000 or something like that. And her grandfather got sick, her family member got sick, and she was backed up on work, and she told her boss, like, hey boss, my grandfather is in the hospital and he's dying and he's really sick, I gotta go. And she asked for time, and she sent out an email, and she asked for time off just to visit her grandfather for the day. And he said no, and got upset with her and told her, like, what do you think we pay you so much money for? And after a little arguing, I guess, or conversation, she said okay, and then she went on to do her work. And that night was like the last night that her grandfather was alive, and he died. And yeah, all that just to stay at that job. Then she ended up quitting, of course, after that, to do what she really wanted to do what was important to her, to do what she really wanted to in her life. Not sure, I don't know why I said that story, but anyway, so these higher ups, they will try to keep us trapped in this mentality of money is important, of just, they try to tell us what is important, and they just destroy us in other ways by doing so. But like I said, these higher ups, some people know who I'm talking about or what I'm talking about, but I'd rather not go say by name. Yes, these higher ups will. Yeah. The reason why I brought that up was because we'll have jobs, and we'll say things like, "Oh, that was a good job that she had. She made all that money. She went to restaurants where the bill was a couple $1,000s, for the group. She was able to travel. She could buy all these expensive cars and have whatever house she wanted. Like, that was good." You would say from an outside source, from an outside point of view, that, yeah, that was a good benefit that she had from that job or whatever. But at the end of the day, look what happened with her family, with her grandfather. A whole family member is gone just like that. It's not coming back. Even if he does come back, it's not going to be that same identity, the same person that you've known that person as. The same memories are not going to be there. That person's not going to be who or what they were, what role they were for you in that life. I'm talking about for those who believe in reincarnation, but yeah, things like that. So you may think that, having all that money or whatever the job allowed you to have was good, when really it was just a breadcrumb. Money, here you go. Get a job that says, oh, as long as you work every 2 weeks, then you get 1 day of paid vacation time. That sounds like a luxury for most people. Oh, snap, really? Most jobs don't do that. I've been at this job for 10 years, and they don't even pay PTO like that. That seems like a feast, doesn't it? When really it's just a breadcrumb. Freedom. Like, really? You have to work just to have that kind of freedom. And before your mind goes wandering off, like I'm sure most people are, if they're watching this, it's just an example. But again, I remember talking to some people, and they were like, hey, my job is paying $10 an hour. My job is paying $15 an hour. Someone said, oh, mine's paying $12 an hour. And some people would say, oh, man, that's some good money right there. I've known people that have made $17 to $20 an hour. Some people about $32 an hour. And they've been like, this is garbage. This is like so garbage because they're paying me all of this money. But at the end of the day, you can't really do much with it. And it's, I've known people who've made, some people will look at that as a luxury, making $32 an hour doing something. A lot of people think that's amazing. But no, for the people who have actually worked and gotten that kind of money, they're just like, no, I'm struggling just as much as someone making $10, $8 an hour. And I've seen it. I've literally seen it where people make so much money, even own their own businesses, and they're still struggling the same as people that I know that are actually in the ghetto, the exact same way. Maybe their house looks better or their car looks better, but still goes from point A to point B. You still have a place where you go home to family every night or not. You still have a roof over your head. I've dragged on way too much with this, with these examples, but, so now to get a little bit more spiritual, because I don't want this video to go on too much longer. I know I could talk forever, but, so the thing about the mind space and the heart space, as long as you're in your heart space, you are living your best life and you are doing what you want to do. But when you're in the mind space, you're in a subconscious realm where you are constantly trying to figure out every scenario of how things can go. You're constantly fitting the criteria of what is around you. You're constantly living what you are taking in. Where if you're living in your heart space, you are living what you are putting out. Now that is a huge difference. As long as you live in your heart, you're constantly creating the world from your own truth that you want. But when you're living in your mind space, you are basically attracting your own truth from what you are given or influenced by. That is a huge difference. A lot of people just need to learn how to live life and to stop worrying, to stop living in the endless cycle of what is right and what is wrong. A lot of people are stuck in philosophy, trying to figure out what is right, what is wrong in their mind. People are still fighting about whether or not abortions are good or bad. And it's like, does it have anything to do with your life right now? No, that's other people's lives. Let other people do whatever they want to do, whether it's good or bad. That's them. Speaking now, I've seen I'm gonna get a little bit personal, but I've seen a huge war in society, and especially in social media, against Christianity. Excuse me, my throat is getting dry. But I've seen a huge war against Christianity. Now, I've seen this. At least I've seen people talk about abortions, right? The experience of these things are similar. I know they're gonna sound different, but the experience and what they mean are the same. So some people will look at someone who's wanting to abort a child and be like, "Yo, that baby," not non-religious point of view. Someone could be like, "Hey, you can't just be aborting babies because that's a living thing. It's alive. You." Sorry, the reason why I bring up abortion is because I'm actually working on a different project regarding that. So sorry if I bring that up. I brought this up as an example. But anyway, so so someone could say something like, "Hey, abortion's wrong. That's a living child. It's a living being," and things like that. It's wrong. And you could also say, "Why is it your business? Why are you fighting someone over what they want to do with themselves?" And it's like, well, that's a living being and it's defenseless. And, someone loves this being so much that they're trying to fight to keep it alive, to do what is best for it. That is exactly the mentality behind most Christians. Now, I know people are going to be upset, whatever. So that's the idea behind most Christians at a base level, is that really the whole idea of Christianity is not a belief system. It is a reality for them. And the fact that it is a reality means that people who don't do certain things that they feel God says you need to do to make it into heaven, people think that it is a real thing. Therefore, it's not them forcing a belief on you. Belief is from the outside perspective. Reality is from the inside perspective of most Christians. And so, yeah, so a lot of people who feel like they've been attacked or victimized by Christians need to also understand that, people at the end of the day have the ability to make their own decisions or react however they want to. So if they want to be an extremist in the religion, then that's them as an individual. But at the same time, collectively, most Christians are coming from a loving point of view, even if it seems intense or strong. That is just them having a strong will and trying to help people and save them from a bad place. They're trying to help them be better and make it into a good place called heaven. Again, for the Christians, it is a reality, not a belief system. So people need to stop getting mad at them for loving you enough to try and help you get out of that bad state of mind. I go ahead and argue about that, but again, that is the mindset. That is the mind realm, headspace thinking. Whereas the heart space would be like, oh, I understand from their point of view where they're coming from. Whether or not I agree with them doesn't matter, but now I understand them, and therefore I can have less hate in my heart for them, and therefore I can focus on being more loving within myself. That's the difference between the mind space and the heart space. That's the heart space mentality. Mind space mentality would be trying to fight everything I said and trying to find a way to justify why I am wrong. Anyway, sorry, I have to get something to drink. That's what all that rattling is. Anyway, yeah, that's just an example. Hopefully that helps some people out with that. But, yeah, so, man, I have no idea how I even got there to that subject, but, so, yeah, so like I was saying, unless it has something to do with you or your individual life, there really isn't much of a reason to have an opinion for most things, like, What if someone was just walking, they're just living their life, do, and then you walk up to them, or someone walks up to them, they're all like, "Hey, how do you feel about the corruption, or how do you feel about just, I don't know, someone, an ex-convict or something, is working at a grocery store or something, I don't know, something like that." And that person would be like, "Oh, okay, whatever." And you just kind of, hold on, let me talk to you about why this is wrong, why it shouldn't be a right thing, or why a convict shouldn't be a school teacher or something like that. Blah, 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 blah. These are all the bad things that can happen, and this is blah, blah. So that person's whole life could probably take a left turn and go down a path that will probably never benefit them, because now they're stuck with this idea of, you have a point. Is this wrong or is this right? How do I feel about it? And it gives an opportunity, I guess, which, yeah, well, anyway, it's just, it doesn't have to be necessary for that person. People are just forcing each other to, have an opinion on every single thing in the world, when really we all have our own lives to live. And we need to just stop bombarding each other with just our own realities of life, our own philosophies. Just learn to live and exist and do what you want to do. Create from what is in your heart, and don't attract what is in your mind. What is in your mind space, that is the matrix. As you start to live better within yourself, future generations will begin to have the tools to live life better for themselves, without necessarily having to be taught or having their hand held. We always assume the worst, and we attract the worst. But life should just be about being the best that you can be with what you have, and doing what is important to your well-being of existing. When you do that, you reprogram your own DNA, you reprogram your own cells. And when you do that, when you start passing down to when you start having children, and the newer generation is born, they're going to have in their DNA that strong will that we had. They're going to know how to overcome certain obstacles, because they're going to realize that there is no obstacle. It is just self-development. Anyway, yeah, just live the best life that you can for yourself, and, don't worry about, the bad things out there in the world. In closing of this video, I have seen many movies, the things like Facebook, certain TV shows, movies and things like that were pretty negative, I guess, for the most part. There was killing, there was a lot of bad things in it, in things that I've seen. And the reason why I brought up the filter way early on in this video is because when you understand that filter, and you learn how to make that filter loving and protecting, you'll understand that everything that you are exposed to has both a negative and a positive to it. It's not just so much as, it depends on how you see it, because that's just a statement. people don't actually tell you how. They just say it depends on how you look at it, but how do you change how you look at something? But anyway, just my whole idea is to help people understand that everything has a good and a bad side. Everything has a positive and a negative. Everything has a good and an evil to it. It's a duality. But your filter, your third eye, your filter, basically, that thing that is connected with your mind, your filter, depending on what that is, offers different experiences to what you're exposed to. I've seen a couple horror movies. For an example, Saw. I'm not going to drag this on, but just to see the Saw movies, gore, blood, death, things like that. When you actually filter out what the movies are actually about, you'll understand that the movie is actually about people facing whether or not they're facing their will to live, and understanding that there's a point where, are you going to learn to overcome your own self-pity or your own sin, or are you going to learn to overcome what this thing is that's going to kill you? If you overcome it, your life will be better and you will be rehabilitated. If not, then this thing is going to ultimately kill you, or kill your soul, or just kill you. The movie was symbolic like that, on appreciating life and appreciating who you are and appreciating just your existence, and to not let your pain control you. I saw the movie It Too. It's just about a clown that just tortured people and stuff like that. When I watched the ending, the other one, it was more about facing your fear, and how fear, and just how strong it can be, how it can connect people. The end of the second It was symbolic, as in what connects us, which is fear. We can always reprogram it with love. Different emotions can keep us tied together, and fear is only as big as we allow it to be. Fear is always going to be a reflection of us and our experiences. Fear is just a self-made thing. And It Too had that positive message behind it, but it's a horror movie. You would never guess that. The new Chucky movie, 2019, was about how kids or whatever are mostly into technology, and how technology divides us as family, and how just technology keeps us from, it just kills us on certain levels. It just, things like that. I could go on forever, but people wouldn't think stuff like that. So when you focus on your filter, you begin to realize stuff like, you begin to see the truth in things, but you can also see how they tip the scales of good and bad, how they can influence you in a positive or negative way. The reason why we have this filter, is because TV shows, movies, and music program our mind in a negative way to keep us stuck in the matrix, right? Or to keep us in the matrix. When you learn to change the actual filter in your mind, then you'll actually learn how to become an alchemist. Is it alchemist? Yes, an alchemist. And when you're an alchemist, you take what is in front of you and you make it what you want it to be. You can take certain rap songs, understand how they're negatively influencing your mind, and make sure the energy, and there's no like demonic energy there, whatever. But you can actually take certain rap music or whatever and apply it to positive affirmations of you wanting to make money in the future. However, being stuck in the mind space of doing that means you're just listening to the rap music and you're just kind of having fun with it. Whereas if you take certain rap music and you apply it with your heart space, you could actually use it to create a better future for yourself. That is, whatever you're trying to do. If you want to make money, you can use rap songs to affirm your mind and help you get there. But only if you are intentional of doing it and you're responsible. Same thing with movies. If you want a certain experience, then what you do is you watch a movie. You watch certain kinds of movies, certain genres, and you help feed into the certain mentality that you're trying to tap into to help you create a future for yourself. Like if you want a certain relationship, then you can actually watch certain movies that better reflects, oh, I'm trying to get to this relationship, or this is what I want to experience, or something like that. You can also do it with any kind of movie, TV show, songs, whatever. You just have to learn how to filter out the good and the bad, understand how they negatively influence your mind, and just know, okay, I understand that. And then learn how to apply the positive ways that this thing can benefit you and apply it to your personal life, into your growth, and into your heart. Help you allow these things to help you overcome the things that keep you stuck in the matrix. But also have these things help you create a better future for your heart space and allow you to tap more into your heart space. Everything that I'm doing, everything that you get into on that level is going to vibrate at the 6 frequency, the 666 frequency. Okay, now this is like the bonus thing, and then I'm done with this video. The 666 frequency is basically it's a double layer. It is a layer of 6 and it is a layer of 3. It is a gamble number and it is creation. So 3 is a number of basically creation, and 3 is the number of creation, and 6 is the gamble number or the balance number. So when you have the 666 frequency, what this actually means is you are going to be in a position that will either make you stronger or it'll keep you where you're at, basically. And the 666 frequency is an energy that kind of keeps you in that realm, in this weird psychological realm where your mind can actually be reprogrammed. It's easier to reprogram your mind to make it bad or worse. This is the devil's frequency because of the matrix frequency, and it is because of the tactic that I'm actually explaining right now, which I already explained, which is with the music. Everything that is around influences us, whether it be positive or negative. But when you learn how to actually dive into it and actually work with it and play with it and actually manipulate it, what you do is there's a risk. No. So the neutral risk is that when you listen to music or watch TV, it keeps your mind dull and it keeps you in the state of the matrix, or it keeps you in the state of your mind. It keeps you in a bad state. However, when you actually know what you're doing and you use these things, then you can actually grow from it. The same things that can destroy your mind can be the very things that can also make your mind stronger, and that is the 666 frequency. The devil cannot destroy anyone without risking making them more powerful. That is the gamble. That is why the 666 is his number, because it goes both ways. Every time he tempts someone, he risks making them stronger to that temptation, more resistant to that temptation. All right. All right. So, yeah. So there's a tactic that is the main difference between 5D and, oh gosh. Oh yeah, 5D heart space and the mind space, which is the matrix. Yeah, hopefully, I don't know if anyone actually has the patience to sit down and actually listen to all that, but if you do, that is great. Thank you so much for that. Anyway, I am doing the best I can with what I've got. Hopefully, you're doing the same. And thank you for listening to this whole thing. And you guys have an amazing day. And see you next time. Bye.